This is the fourth in a series of devotionals that I'm doing in trying to help us see the exciting opportunity God has given us to share our faith with those around us. I recognise sometimes that's scary and we think, oh my life, how can we do this? So we've broken it down into lots of little steps that I hope you'll find helpful and encouraging in thinking about, God, use me. Help me to make a difference amongst the people that you've called me. Today we're looking at how we are to be proactive in building relationships with those around us. There have been many negative things that have happened throughout the pandemic, but for me I think one of the most positive things is that it slowed us down a bit for some of us, but also it's meant that we haven't been going out so much socially and that we've been interacting far more with those people who are in our local area, whether that's our neighbours, those in our streets, but those in our local vicinity. And I know that's been true for me, that actually I've had far more interaction and I've built far deeper relationships with those people around me than were present before the lockdown. I got to know far more people clapping the NHS. I've had Prosecco in people's front gardens and over the fence in those conversations and saying hi to people in the street. What used to happen before was that we'd come in and out of our houses as we rushed off to go somewhere, or we were rushing in and rushing out again. And there wasn't always that time for that conversation, for that deepening of the relationship. But the pandemic has really helped us to be able to work out who and what is important in our lives and to deepen some of those relationships. And when we want to share our faith, it's really important that we invest time in those people around us, because it's from those places of security, those places of trust, that conversations, the opportunities to invite are made, where people are far more likely to say yes if they know us, and hopefully where they have seen something reflected in us of Jesus and think, I want that. Someone once said this: the most persuasive and compelling argument for salvation to an outsider, that's someone who's not yet a Christian, is a close-up view of the transformed life of one of Jesus's insiders. We are the most persuasive and compelling argument for salvation if we are seeking to live out our faith, that others will look at us and think, what is it about them? There is something different, and they'll begin to inquire and they'll begin to want to know more. But for them it comes from a place of trusting us and of knowing us. And statistics tell us that people are becoming Christians today through the ordinary and everyday relationships that you and I have with those around us. People have been asked, how did you hear about God and then eventually come to faith? For 0.5% of people, it was evangelistic crusades. 1% of people, it was because they were visited. 2%, they had a special need. Maybe it was a funeral or a time of sickness. For 3%, they just walked into a church building on a Sunday without being invited by anybody else. 3.5%, it was through a special program or an outreach activity. 5%, it was Sunday school. 6%, it was a pastor or a staff visit. But for 79%, how did you hear about God and then eventually come to faith? Through a friend or a relative. It would seem that friendships are God's major strategy for reaching out to those that are around us that don't yet know Him. So how do we go about it? How do we go about building these relationships? Well, if your life is anything like mine, it is full of people who don't yet know Jesus. And you think, oh, my life, where do I start? Who do I prioritise? How do I begin to share my faith with all of these people? Well, the first thing to do, obviously, is to seek in God's strength to live a life that reflects Jesus in all that we do. So in all of our interactions with everybody else, our prayer is that we'd be filled with the Holy Spirit, that we'd be empowered and equipped to reflect Jesus. But alongside that, I want to suggest that we need to be praying, God, would you show me those people that are open and responsive to what it is that you are doing in their lives right now? Because for all the people that we know, I can guarantee that there will be some people that are open and responsive to God right now. They may not be the people that we expect, but God knows what he's doing. God knows whose life he is touching. And it's about partnering with him and saying, I want to join in with that. Help me to invest extra time in these relationships. We don't give up on everybody else, but we want to invest more time. We want to make extra effort in getting alongside these people, in building those relationships, so that as God is working, we can work in conjunction with him. Who are those people that God is placing upon your heart? Maybe just right now say, God, today and in this week, would you reveal to me who those people are? And then as God reveals those people, to say, God, how do you want me to invest in these relationships? Might be to give them a call. Might be to invite them to supper or out for a drink, to the football. Might be to go for a walk. Might be a whole host of different ways that God is saying, I want you to invest time in these people. I want you to be praying for them. I want you to love them. I want you to live out your faith. And I want you to build relationships where they are comfortable with you, where they know you are a Christian, where things can develop. So I want to encourage us. Let's be proactive in building relationships. Let's seek God and say, God, who are those people this week that you want me to prioritise my time with, that I may share you, that eventually they may come to faith and know Jesus Christ for themselves.